Hello everyone, welcome to another live stream. We are going to recap Skate Canada and we have a very special guest here, Kirsten Moore-Towers, Olympic silver medalist, 4-time Skate Canada medalist, 4-time Canadian national champion, amazing person. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. What a great intro too.
Thank you. I prepared very well for this.
I appreciate that.
And yeah, a lot of people have already commented about the live stream situation of the event, so I think we might start with that while others are joining. Yeah, I think that's a problem for everyone, or a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, that
Me
is
too.
so tough. I didn't know that, actually. I had no idea that it was geo-blocked.
Yeah, we've been having to use a VPN to watch as well.
Oh, that's
as far as I
terrible.
know, Eurosport bought the rights, but they're not showing it. So that's why the ISU aren't showing it. It's just an incredible mess.
Oh, that's terrible. And now not a ton of the performances are easily accessible via YouTube. I tried to go back for a lot of them and it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
Especially in Germany, everything is geo-blocked. Whenever somebody sends me something, I can never watch it.
And VPNs are hard to figure out too, for me at least. I'm not overly tech savvy. And it's always hard for me when it's geo-blocked in my country to be able to, accessibility, I guess, is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, VPNs are a terrible answer to the how do people watch the sport? But I absolutely second that Opera browser as the best way to watch, especially the ISU YouTube stream. Because if you set your VPN with that to Europe, it puts you in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands seems to never have bought the rights to anything, and so it will work. But I actually decided to buy a VPN, like the Mozilla VPN, for like $50 this year, and because I wanted to watch the I Have Nothing TV show that was only available in Canada, and so I also got to use that to watch the commentary on the Skate Canada live stream, which was really fun because I got to listen to Kirsten talk about pairs and all of the other commentary from that, which was a really nice broadcast. So if anyone can get access to the stuff in Canada, I definitely recommend those.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I had so much fun.
Skate Canada. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, and you got to be on site for Skate Canada.
Yes, I did, which was so fun for me. I really love the competitions. I love them even more now that I'm not competing in them. And it's really fun, I think, and it feels important to share a little bit about the athletes as humans, as well as kind of what we're seeing on their screens. And sometimes that can be really accessible nowadays with social media, but some athletes elect to not be as active, of course, online. And so I try to do as much research as possible and speak to as many of the athletes or their coaches themselves as possible to share the stories that they want to be kind of out in the open, and have them have a little bit more of a say of what their narrative is, which I really appreciated when I was skating. So it was just so fun. I had the best time.
I loved watching you and Caitlin Weaver also commentate on practices. That was a fun, your duo was fun for that as well.
It was so fun. I was really nervous to do ice dance because I love ice dance so much, but I also want to do it justice. And I know that I am, of course, not as knowledgeable on the discipline as Caitlin Weaver, ice dancer, but I felt it might even have been a benefit because I had so many questions that I thought maybe the public who was a little bit less aware of the rules and sort of the way of ice dance would also have. So we had so much fun. There was a lot of laughs, even more so when the mic was off. But I hope we got a lot of good feedback. I hope people liked it because I'd like to work with her again. It was great.
I think that's an amazing transition to our first category. Oh, puppy. So yeah, we are starting with ice dance.
So in gold was Piper Simple Poirier for Canada. In silver medal was Lila Fit and Lewis Gibson for Great Britain. And winning the bronze medal was Alison Reed and Saulis Amber-Levicius for Lithuania.
Nice.
How did you feel about this podium?
I think it was fairly expected, in my opinion. I did think maybe the US teams might be making a run for bronze, but I did think Alison and Sol were probably going to get it based on scores they've had in the past.
Sorry, my dogs were also really excited about the ice dance. I thought it was an amazing event personally. Obviously, as Anna mentioned, I did watch the practices, so got to see and learn from Caitlin a little bit more of the ins and outs. But I loved so many of these teams, and I thought they were so different in a way that made for a really exciting event. We didn't have too much of any one thing. Everybody was a little bit, I guess, innovative in their material, and I thought the rhythm dance especially was really exciting. Obviously, the 80s theme really allows for that. But there were some free dances that really touched me emotionally, and that, since again I don't know as many of the rules, I think Lois, you are ice dance expert here. Is that right? Do I remember that correctly?
I wouldn't like to call myself an expert. I mean, I do. I do. Whenever the rule changes come up, I do try and lay them out for people. But whether I understand them all is a different matter.
I remember you knowing and really being an enthusiast with ice dance, so I definitely wouldn't know the rules like you. But for me, because of that, I think it's all about who makes me feel something and who tells me a story that I really want to get behind. And I thought there were so many teams that did that here. It was such a great event.
Yeah, there were so many interesting and really different free skates. I was really thinking that watching one after another that there was so much variety, and that contrasted for me with Skate America, where there were a lot of really great teams and a lot of really great free dances, but they started to blend together slightly for me because there were so many that were to sort of lyrical classical music, and that I was a little worried that everyone's free dances this year were going to be, well, in contrast to our 80s, we were doing a very lyrical classical thing. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was nice here. It felt like there was a lot more variety.
Yeah, we get some comments about Piper and Poet's rhythm dance, and also their free dance is very strong. How do you feel? How do you feel about them and their performances?
Who started?
I really enjoyed their rhythm dance. I was gonna say, I really enjoyed their rhythm dance. I did see, because I didn't watch the practices, but I saw some people commenting like, "Oh my god, they're like sliding on their stomachs or whatever," and I was like, well, I'll see what it looks like, and then I'll make a judgment on it. And they were so clean in the actual rhythm dance. I thought, well, that works fine as long as it stays like as clean as that and doesn't look messy. That looks fine.
Yeah.
I saw some comments. Oh, sorry. I saw some comments that were saying that we had enough slides now and I can stop with the slides, but I love them.
I also think theirs is so different. I truly was like, what? What is happening? And I think anytime, obviously now we all know that it's coming. So when we watch in the future, we might not have the same super shocked reaction. But I think when it's done differently, it's just another way for them to be innovative, in my opinion. But I can see it's kind of like the touching the boards epidemic. Like somebody, Leyland Lewis, it seems, I think, started it, and now there are a lot of teams electing to kind of use that avenue, I guess, in one of their programs. But when people do it like Piper and Paul do it in their free dance, I think that's really different and like a continuation of what they're trying to sell us in this story. So I guess for me, it's just all how it plays into the program, if you're doing it just to do it, or if actually there's intention and purpose behind it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed their free dance, and I noted down Piper's acting, especially in that choreo step, like when she like reaches out towards the judges. I just thought it was really great, and I love their like concept overall for their free, and I'm really excited to see it like develop over the season, because this is like their first competition as well.
Yeah, and I really liked their rhythm dance as well. I didn't know what to expect from it because I wasn't as familiar with all of the music beforehand, but I felt like they came up with a lot of really interesting sort of shapes and poses, and that theirs seemed a little less hectic than a lot of rhythm dances, which I kind of appreciated. And I want to go back and watch it again and try to absorb more of it. But at the time I was like, oh, wow, they're really kind of holding some positions and doing some things that are a little bit, seemed like they were really trying to do this stylized motion that was specific to that dance.
Caitlin Weaver spoke on the practice, I believe it was, about the culture behind 80s dancing and the kind of different avenues that teams could take. And I found it really insightful because personally, I did not have that education. And I wonder which teams would choose to learn about the style of 80s dance they're portraying. And when I watched Piper and Paul, after kind of hearing Caitlin talk about that, I feel like they always are educated enough to like paint us an entire picture. And with something that nuanced and fast, it seems like to my untrained eye, it was very clean and well skated, especially as you mentioned, Sarah, for the first event of the season. I just think if you start here, where must you be able to go? Seems exciting.
So then we got a comment about Alison and Sorius finally getting a Grand Prix medal. Always exciting when like people are so close to getting it and they're finally doing it.
I was really happy for them, and I really liked both of their programs. And I felt like their free dance, Caitlin and Ted didn't like it, but I actually thought it was very clear what the story they were telling. But maybe it came across a little easier on TV with them looking at their phones and the music about the machines. And I thought it was really interesting and clever. And so I hope that they keep developing it. And also, I feel like the rock music, and I think they had Guns N' Roses, I think. Or did they? Yeah, they had Guns N' Roses. And I really liked that for them. And I'm very impressed with I think it's a hydroblade. I'm not sure exactly what move it is that they're doing in the rhythm dance, but that Allison is supporting Saul in it. And it's a really cool sort of reversal of who's doing that like deep squat spread eagle and who's doing the slide. And I appreciate that they're always a little outside of the box.
Yeah, I was so happy for them, and also
couple of seasons.
They which? Sorry?
I was going to say the programs the last couple of seasons have been very authentic to kind of their tastes and their personality. It feels like they're doing what they want to do and not what someone else is telling them to do.
I wonder how much of that is influenced by Allison, obviously from a skating family, and probably saw her brother and sister go through a ton of trial and error with certain vehicles that they selected to pick. And I wonder how much of that influences how Allison and Saul approach picking the vehicles that they use. I was so happy for them once the camera was off of them in the kiss and cry. There was just so much, they just were so overcome with emotion, her in particular. And just love to see happy people in the kiss and cry always. This is my favorite thing about figure skating. And you could see that they were happy and proud of getting that medal for Lithuania. And I read somewhere that it's the first one since Isabella Tobias and was her partner Davidus, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Back to that. Yeah. So I mean, it's been a long time for Lithuania, and I was super pumped for them that they were able to do that.
I think someone also mentioned on the commentary that it's Alison's first time competing back in Vancouver since the Vancouver Olympics, which is still like so like mind-boggling to remember that she was at the Vancouver Olympics in 2010.
Whoa, I did not know that. That's a really cool fact. I wish I knew that before practices. Should have talked to Sarah.
There are also a lot of positive comments, unless you want to continue.
I'm good.
No, because there's a lot of love for the Browns, so I thought we would talk about them for a bit.
Yeah,
I don't think going into I was going to say I don't think like obviously they've just done back to back.
We'll figure this out one day.
You did the same things. You were impressed they succeeded after back-to-back events.
I was also going to say, I don't think I would have expected necessarily for them to be the top American team based on the fact that they were doing a back-to-back and based on...
Oh. Have we lost Lois?
Oh no.
If we lost Lois, Sarah can.
I assume I'm going to have the same train of thought as her. Yeah,
One brain.
coming in, it was assumed that Ava and Logan would probably get the highest score. They had the highest score from a challenger competition earlier. Amelia and Vadim are sort of right at the same level pushing, but it was like a massive improvement for the Browns from their scores just last week. So obviously, like, it's, I think Gage said last week it's their first time doing a back-to-back, so they didn't really know what to expect coming in, but I think they obviously did very well.
Yeah, I agree. I thought pretty big jump in score from just 1 week. And obviously when you get that immediate feedback from an event, and if you're able to speak to someone and know why you got a level whatever versus the level 4 you were going for, I think it can be somewhat of a quick fix, dependent on obviously what the reason for losing the level would have been. But I really liked them. I thought they were so likable, and like totally an aside and not probably relevant, but I commentated gala as well, which I don't typically watch the gala, but because of working at it, I did watch, obviously. And again, like you said, Anna, they're doing, I guess, role reversal from what will be the traditional way of doing things. And in that kind of like cantilever type thing where Gage is being lifted and Una the lifting partner, and I find there is no shortage of innovation from them, and they're obviously so new and pretty young, super new on the circuit, and have just made this part-time coaching change to Montreal. I think there seems like there's no end to what they could do moving forward, which is so exciting for ice dance and for American ice dance, and I'm excited to watch them.
If memory serves right, I think they used that lift in a competition as well a few years ago. And so I love that they've sort of kept it in the gala, because it's super impressive to see them do.
Very cool.
Awesome. Kirsten, did you ever do back-to-back Grand Prix?
You know what? I never did. I can't speak to that. I never did it. I feel grateful that I didn't do it, but I saw them in an interview speak about how they've heard both kind of positive and negative experiences from it. And if memory serves correct, I think Madison Hubble and Zach Donahue did it a couple times. They seem to do that America-Canada Grand Prix circuit and seem to work really well for them. Obviously a little bit of a different trajectory, because they would do the early Grand Prix to have a little bit of a break to prepare for final. I don't think the Browns will be at the final, but obviously this was just something they fell into, and it seems like they had the right mindset to go into it sort of open-minded and understand there may be challenges, but some positive aspects to it too, and just totally thrive on this kind of situation that could be difficult.
Yeah, we talked to Megan about it last week, because she said you get such an adrenaline rush and then it falls down and it's a crash, and then it's so difficult to recover from that, especially within a week.
Totally.
Crazy
My
how they
guess
did
is
that.
they would have had to stay up as
Yeah.
best as possible, or even just try to like do a tiny dip to come back. I think it's probably advantageous too that they are so new to the senior circuit. I think it's their second season. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Is that right? Yeah. And so probably right now things are just so exciting and new for them, and they could have and probably did use that to their advantage, I think. But now I'm sure they will be exhausted. They'll need a break.
They deserve a lot of sleep right now.
Yes, they do.
I think Gage mentioned to Anna in the mix zone last week that a lot of people are saying because they're like, it's easier for people that are younger to sort of work off that back-to-back energy. And Gage was like, so we'll be fine with it.
That's so funny. And you know what? On Thursday practice, they did a full free dance run through. So we were thinking not only did they do this Grand Prix last week, and now they're here this week. They're doing literally a full free dance, and it seems like they must be very well trained. It didn't look to be didn't look to make their competition any more difficult. And also they do have very experienced coaches on their team now that I think their head coach Joel Deere has obviously done a remarkable job with them, but also having that experience of Romain. I think if he thought that them doing a full run through was not going to be beneficial for them, obviously he wouldn't have them do it. So it seems like doing these run throughs is not an issue for them.
And they had kind of a rough start last year. I think they didn't come out kind of as new seniors really the way they wanted to. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of aimed to be as strong as possible in the early competitions this year. And, having more emphasis on that, because they've really improved their speed, and they seem like they're much more committed and practiced at these programs than I remember seeing them at their challenger at the beginning of last year, and they seemed a lot more tentative at that point. So.
And obviously probably trying to make a campaign for the world team. I don't know what your thoughts are, but it seems like the US team obviously having 3 spots, there are a large number of teams, I think, that could potentially wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, I think, for them to get one of those spots. So coming out early and being consistent is the way to go, in my opinion.
That contest between the 3 American teams, SK Canada, was an interesting one. And I think I saw lots of different predictions ahead of time about how that was going to go. And I like the Browns, so I was very pleased for them. I also really like the free dance that Amelia and Vadim have. That Beauty and the Beast, I think, is a great vehicle for them, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
I agree, and when I watched it in practice, you can never get the full picture in practice, especially morning of, because teams take out so many elements, which they should do. It's totally makes sense, but for me personally, I couldn't grasp the whole story. And of course, Amelia in a red dress, which is not the typical literal depiction of Beauty and the Beast. And so I just was in the morning not getting it. I want to get it. I love this team. I think it just is mind blowing that she was a single skater not that long ago, and now is totally looking like she's been an ice dancer forever, and making it look like that's an easy transition, which it just so is not. And then when they did the free dance, I had tears in my eyes. I just thought when they did the whole thing, it was such a I don't know if story's the right word, because obviously we all know the movie, and I mean the story can be pretty literal, but just the acting, I guess, especially from her. Vadim is so amazing in his skating skills, but Amelia's face, especially in the end, highlight with her arms, they just totally had me. And obviously that was a strategic choice. They got me, so I'm excited for them.
I remember thinking when I saw her as a single skater, I thought if she wanted to make the switch to ice dance, I think she could, because I remember wow. Yeah, I remember seeing her. She was very artistic, and the jumps didn't always work. And I thought, you could make that switch. So I wasn't incredibly surprised when she did, but I was surprised about her teaming up with Vadim.
Yeah. So I saw her at Cranberry Cup, I think in 2021, I want to say, and she was really made a huge impression on me. She had this very emotional and emotive free skate that was just she brought you into the story that she was telling. And I remember she was saying that it was about family members who had passed away during COVID. And it was just this very that real charisma and ability to project her emotions in that kind of way. And she was somewhere in the middle of that field, it wasn't but I remember I went and talked to her because I was so surprised and, excited to see somebody with that kind of performance quality. So I'm glad that we probably wouldn't be seeing her as much if she had stayed a single skater. So I'm glad that she's so good at dance, but that we're getting to see more of her in this space too.
So looking at the time, is there anybody you want to highlight before we move on to singles, women? Amazing.
I liked
How
the Molly and Dimitri's river dance as well.
Me too.
That was fun.
I saw somebody make the distinction. Apparently, that's Lord of the Dance and River Dance are two separate things. So
Okay.
Yes,
Apparently-
I
and
liked
we
their
were-
apparently it's Lord of the Dance.
program.
Actually, I got a text on the practice on Thursday because we get sheets with everyone, the ISU sheets that you've seen 100 million times. And Molly and Dimitri's and Paul and Piper's were not present, just had their name at the top and blank. But they started skating, and we were like, "Oh, river dance! We know this music." And then I actually got a text from Caroline Susius, who is Shane Fear's partner. Now,
Yes.
of course, they represent Ireland, and she was like, "Hey, great job! By the way, this is not river dance; it's Lord of the Dance." In case anyone says anything, so we made a little correction. And I just thought, "Oh my gosh, how terrible!" But to me, they sound so similar. I said that, and she said, "Yeah, well, we're Irish now. We need to know these things." So, fair enough. I appreciate that. Thank you for the correction. But yes, I
I love
like
that.
Part of the
No,
citizenship
great.
test. Done.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's anybody we haven't talked about, we can always go back doing
We
fantasy.
didn't talk about Fear Gibson, so
Oh.
and since we talked, we did. No, they got silver.
I think it's because we've seen the program so many times at this point, but like obviously we haven't talked about it like on stream, but we've seen them do like
It's
3 or 4
growing on
competitions.
me. I'm not saying anything about scoring wise, but like just as an entertaining program, the Rocky program is growing on me. So
Okay.
I thought I was going to hate it, and I don't hate it.
I liked it better last time. They'd taken out the push-ups in the last competition they did, and now they put them back in. I liked it when the push-ups weren't there.
I thought
It's
it
just-
wasn't crazy. I said to Caitlin, I think they took the push-ups out and then they did them. So I thought, well, I don't know anything, I guess.
I
Yeah.
saw them when they debuted this in Sheffield in August, and it was like obviously the crowd loved it. It was a bit of like a shock in a way, because I was like, oh, this is like incredibly different to what we have seen in the past and what we normally see. I personally also preferred when they took the push-up out because it felt like a bit disjointed, like the stop in the middle of the choreo step. But obviously the judges preferred with it in, so they've put it back in.
So yeah, let's talk about women. I think that should be, unless there's another point. No, okay.
So this is the women's podium. So in first place we have Kerry Sakamoto, and then Cheon Kim, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. And then third place we have Rino Matsuike. And I don't think it was that surprising of a podium, especially if you like compare it to men, but men are men. But I think overall, I don't think it was, I think we could have predicted the first two definitely. I know the third place was a bit more up in the air. But yeah, I enjoyed the women's event. I thought there were some really solid skates, and a lot of like different programs from skaters from this year as opposed to last year. I know like Sakamoto especially like surprised me in the direction she's taking, and I do think it's working really well for her at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I particularly love her short program. You can just tell how much she loves it and how much she relates to it.
And speaking of Kaori, I know I mentioned to all of you before we started that I didn't get to watch as many of the women as I wanted to. I was obviously working the pairs, and so in and out and kind of doing my own preparation. I did see the women practice in the morning, and Kaori looked very different in the practice than she did in the competition. And I just really thought it speaks to her experience and her ability to be a competition skater and to work under pressure. And I thought obviously her free program I did see was just so incredible. I think her movement quality is continuing to get more nuanced and delicate in areas and strong in others when the music kind of is asking for either or both. And I just was so impressed with her ability to kind of take that morning practice and turn it around and compete in such an incredible way. It speaks to being 2-time world champion, I think.
Yeah, her confidence level this season is really exciting to see, and huge lead in the scores in this competition, like 20 points or more ahead. But I think deservedly so. She really has so much to show. I really appreciated one thing I noticed for her free skate this time was how the construction of it to put her combinations in the second half, which is gaining her points, also worked so well with the difference in the movement quality between the much sort of slower, smoother first piece to Wild is the Wind, and then having the more of the sort of explosive part during Feeling Good. I really thought that was so clever that the music and the choreography and the strategic decisions all seem to be benefiting and supporting each other. And because I was thinking so much about how disruptive of the rhythm the sequences often are, especially in pairs, but that was another story. But then I was watching really carefully for like, okay, which skaters and which teams are actually thinking about the rhythm of a sequence and how that was going to fit in with their music, and putting it in a place where it was okay that there was a little bit of a disruption of the flow versus the teams that seemed to just be kind of letting the music run through that part. So there are parts of this free skate that I'm not as much of a fan of, but I just thought it's so well constructed.
We are getting a lot of comments. Sarah, you are also watching them, right? Because if there's anything you want to highlight, please, you can do that as well. I'm getting a lot of Lahanaki's Hitchcock comments, and I also see a lot of about that on Twitter. So
it's such a good program, and I'm glad she kept it for another year so that more people can see it. Because obviously she didn't. I don't think she had a Grand Prix spot last year, so more people get to experience it this year.
I love her skating so much. She's like rapidly becoming just one of my favorites, period. And I was a little side-eye to the short program at first because whenever anyone does snake choreography, I get a little nervous. But I actually think that she's doing a really fantastic job having movement that matches the music without going into sort of Orientalist stereotypes. And I know she works a lot with dancers, and her choreographers are like ballet and modern dancers that she works with for those programs. And so I think it's really brave and unique of her, and I'm a big fan of both programs.
Definitely, yes. So I'm surprised Sarah left me the moment I gave her a job.
Sorry. I had to reset my internet. It was buffering out.
Oh no.
I am a sucker for a redemption skate, so I was so happy for Maddie that she had such a great free skate, and she nearly could have got to that podium if the top three women hadn't been so good. But I just love a good redemption skate.
Yeah, me too. I was so happy for Maddie, and also happy to see her. I think it was important for her to have that skate for her confidence. We haven't really seen, so I think at moments of brilliance last season, but haven't seen a skate like that from her, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, since the Olympic season. And obviously this was her personal best score, not even just a season's best. So in the free program. So I just really think, just knowing her personally, I really think she needed that. And it can be so hard to, Mateo as well. It can be so hard to feel like you are the one earning the spots for your country. And it can be an honor, but also somewhat of, I don't want to say a burden. A burden is not the right way to put it. Obviously, it's always, I think athletes are always honored and happy to do that for their country, but it was really taxing mentally. And I think that's what we saw from her a little bit last season. So I'm so excited for her. I saw her after the short and I said, "How are you?" And she said, "I'm feeling sorry for myself." which is just like so funny, Maddie. And she totally means it in a comedic way. You know, she was going to take that evening and feel frustrated, and then obviously rebounded Saturday morning to have a really great closing of that competition.
I think she's mentioned earlier this season as well that like she still wants to gain those spots back, and it's still like very much on her mind. But I think sort of having this skate at home as well, it might sort of get rid of any nerves that might be coming like attached with our home worlds as well.
Yeah, great point. Really great point. I hope
And
so.
last year she had such an amazing short program at Skate Canada, and then the free skate fell apart. And so in some ways I think it's better to have it go this way around and be able to leave with a good feeling from the
Absolutely, it
competition.
is.
Yeah.
And I do love her short program working with the Ice Academy Montreal Ontario campus coaches. She really liked that experience, and I think the program is really great on her. Obviously not the technical showing that she would have liked here, but I think in terms of taking her to some high scores and good performances, I think the potential is there. And we saw I wasn't actually able to see Nepala. I didn't have the stream. I'm not sure if it was a paywall or if I just was working or what, but I wasn't able to see it. But it seems like score-wise, that was a better showing. So we know she can do it. She just has to do it. Easier said than done.
I love that she has one program from Ice Academy of Montreal and then one program from Scarborough. It's like use all of the resources at your disposal, get the best of both. It's like
yeah, actually, Pereira and Michaud did the same thing. Worked with both.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, sorry. That was last year. I'm totally wrong. Just kidding. Forget everything.
She looks very comfortable with the free skate as well. It's like it doesn't seem like it's a struggle in terms of layout or anything. It seems like she's very comfortable with it. So
yeah, I was very happy with her.
Get better.
Especially also last year, I think we saw the difficulty in finding a free program that was comfortable for her and really trying with that West Side Story throughout the first half of the season. So it's nice to see that she has found two programs that she is comfortable with. Obviously, small tweaks always being made, but that she can really be successful with, because you don't want to worry about that in the middle of the season. Super not ideal. So that's great.
So please, Anna, continue.
I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs to Lindsay Thorngren. I thought did a great job here and was a little bit, I thought maybe was even underscored. I thought she did I know she got some under rotations, but I thought that, yeah, I agree, Laura, particularly the short and that Sandra Bezic program, and just it's so lovely. And she does this one move in both of her programs where she has sort of a catch foot spiral, and then she like brings her foot over her head and down, and it looks so just unique and beautiful. And it's something that I feel like on most people would just look very awkward, but she does it so well. It's this very movement that I notice is very specific to her, and it just makes me, both of these programs, but especially that short, just make me really excited about what we could see from her as she keeps growing into that expression.
I want to give a shout out to Reno because she came in as a replacement for Rika, who withdrew due to injury, and I think got a lot of new fans as well over the course of the competition. I think I said that like her skating just looked almost so light and flowing, and I really enjoyed watching her programs.
Agreed. And she's kind of like one to watch like a couple of seasons ago, and then last season I think she had two assignments, and then she got sick at the first one and she wasn't really recovered by the second one, so she wasn't really able to show anyone her potential and what she could do. So I'm so glad she got this opportunity to kind of have a bounce back.
And what a way to take advantage of opportunity too. Obviously you never want anyone to be injured and have to withdraw, but if you do get that opportunity, it's so great to see her really thrive and take advantage of it.
Yeah. I also just want to give a shout out to May Bernice. I think it takes so much courage to come out and skate when you know that you're not able to show what you want to show. And especially in her free skate, she just really fought for every single part of it, and just I think that's a really something very admirable about being willing to be that vulnerable in it and talk about that too.
I agree.
I also want to give out a shout out to Star, who had a tough off season as well with her heart condition and learning about a secondary heart condition and everything that she's gone through. So I want to give her a shout out for, you know, coming into the season and having 2 really cool skates.
I love her short program costume. It's so much fun. I love the program too, but the costume especially is just great.
Speaking of costume, did anybody else mention this?
Yeah, Rinka's dress. I know she said in the Kiss and Cry that she's getting a new one. Her mum is sewing it for her. So hopefully next time we see her, there'll be a different dress. It just doesn't... That, and I think the program combined, I think the program has a story that is like quite personal to her and her like journey, but it didn't look comfortable. It didn't look like a comfortable skate for her. I think she's capable of so much more than that. She's a good performer, and I didn't get so much of that from that skate.
Yeah, I think anybody else we want to highlight of the women?
I love
doing so well. I think she's fantastic. Sorry, Lois.
No, never mind. Don't worry.
That's it. I'm done. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love Audrey Shin's short program. Like you can tell how much she loves it. So like she just comes alive when she skates it. She was such a joy to watch.
Yeah, she's told me earlier this summer that that she had taken dance classes and had really studied Tina's choreography and technique and seen the movie and like really thought about it a lot. So it was nice to see that it felt like something that she was very motivated to work on.
The thing about Japan and Grand Prix spots, they have maxed out all of their men and women spots. Unless a Japanese woman withdraws for some reason, Rina will not be getting another spot.
Yes, and I think we are moving on to the next category then, which is pairs.
So gold is Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps. Silver was Maria Pavlova and Alexei Sviatchenko, and bronze was Lucrezia Beccari and Matteo Guarise. I think not a totally unexpected podium, but definitely a runaway success for Diana and Max. And then I know, Kirsten, you said a couple times how much you like the Hungarian team, and look, they ended up in silver.
Yeah, that's right. I am continually so impressed with their technical ability, and even watching them on practice, they really are so solid and reliable, which is so fantastic. I would love to see them include a little bit more difficulty and intricacy within their transitions. If we watch their free program in comparison to not only the 2 other teams on the podium, but also even some other teams in the event in general, there is so much more partner skating and difficult holds and entries and exits into things. And it's not a criticism in the way, it's not a criticism because they are so new. And I remember that with Dylan. I started skating with Dylan Moskovich, and we had so much to learn in such a short period of time that really all we could handle was the technical elements, and our programs were very simple. But in order to continue kind of moving up in the ranks, that was mandatory, and I think will be mandatory with this team on the podium here. But in my opinion, the current composition of the programs they're skating now won't have them on the podium in more well-rounded events, and obviously world events or 4 continents, Europeans, things like that. But their technical score really does prop them up, because like I said, they do everything and they do it so well. It sounds like I'm harping on them, but if you watch the stream, I like them so much. I really think they're such a team to get behind. That just is one area that I think could help them to be even better. And it kind of is the easy part. Like, they've learned the hard part. Now, just if they can add this, I think they can be so much more well-rounded, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great. something to look at for them. I was curious about their coach, and then I think the coach of several other teams, or on the coaching staff for several other teams, is Dimitri Savin. And I was trying to figure out how that was working, to be that he was coaching so many teams from different places that, as far as I knew, all trained in different places. And do you know any of the story behind?
Yeah,
how
I did
that
ask
training
them
was? Yeah.
because I felt the same. This man is seemingly everywhere. You know, he was standing at the boards with the Canadian team of Brooke and Ben, Macintosh Mimar. And so I did ask them, and I asked Daria Danilova and Michelle Siva because I had known them from competing against them in the past. And Michelle told me that the only team they train with daily is the Hungarian team. The rest of them they see in camps. So like I think there was a pair camp in Turkey in the spring that Brooke and Ben attended. And I think I remember seeing like Harley Windsor there. And, you know, there's so many teams there from different places. That's just the first name I thought of, honestly, but there were lots of teams there. And so I think that's how this man is standing with kind of everybody, because he's had somewhat of an influence on so many teams, I guess. But the only two that are day in, day out are Daria and Michelle, and Maria and Alexei.
And they're training in Sochi, is that right? Or
I didn't ask
don't know.
that question. I don't know the answer.
I know that's where they were
They
previously.
have at some
but
point, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where they still are, but yeah.
Because I know at
Yeah,
one
and
point
someone had listed Fedor, sorry, Lois, on their team as well. And I know Fedor used to be in Sochi, so you might be right, but I'm not sure if they've since relocated.
Yeah, I know when Aliona was coaching in the Netherlands, that Daria and Michelle split their time, I think, between Russia and the Netherlands.
Okay.
And now she's moved to Germany. I don't think they train as much there as they used to.
I read a translation of one of the Russian articles about the Hungarian team, and it, at least when they were first getting together, they were training in Sochi at the time. But yeah, I don't know that for sure. It's also very interesting, and I hadn't put two and two together, that Maria used to be Balazs's partner, and I was like, it's so funny seeing. Okay, here it's nice. They're both doing well in their in their new partnerships.
Sometimes that's the way, right? When Maria and Balazs were together, they had a great twist, I remember, but it's gonna sound harsh, but the rest was a little bit unmemorable for me. I was still competing at the time, so maybe I was just too wrapped up in my own stuff. But now I find them so extremely memorable, each of them as individuals with their current partners as well. Like, these teams obviously are a way better fit. So it's nice to see them both kind of thriving, both medaling at their respective Grand Prix, just different people. That sounds so terrible. I don't mean it to be terrible. Just I think this is the right thing now.
It's just,
I feel this is the right thing for them now.
I mean, clearly they thought it wasn't working either. So, you know, it's
yeah.
We've had so many comments. Deanna and Max, obviously.
Let's talk about them.
They're incredible.
I'm gonna psych us through them while you talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited. I spoke to Julie Marcotte on the phone at length before, because we knew that they were the front runners heading in, and we obviously know so much about their story and Deanna's story in particular, but I wanted to ask her from her point of view how they came to choose these pieces of music, how the choreography went. And I saw someone say that they just need to land those side-by-side triple sow cows. And I too felt like that element was going to be pivotal for them, and just like such a catalyst to what the rest of their season can look like, because we've seen them skate so cleanly with everything kind of but that element. We know last season they elected to do the double for, I think, many competitions, and I could be remembering incorrectly, but I think even at Grand Prix final they did a double. Does anyone remember? I might be wrong on that. I know at Worlds they tried a triple, but for a number of competitions leading in, they did a double. So I feel like if they're making their campaign for the World Championship title, they needed to get that out now. And I thought it was so important that they did it. And I know it wasn't as good as perhaps they landed their first jumping pass, but I think mentally it was important for them to do it at all. Yeah, didn't try triple till Canadians. That's what I thought. So I like their programs. The short is my preference. I know that they chose the French piece to kind of pay homage to Max and where he was born and where he grew up, where they skate now. And of course, with Worlds being in Montreal, and there will be no doubt so many French-speaking people in the audience, I think that is a strategic plan, but also being an English-speaking Canadian, I just love it from the beginning. It gives me goosebumps. It makes me like excited. I really just love it so much. And the free, Julie told me Deanna's wanted to skate to for a long time, so that was kind of a passion piece for her. And I just think they're well on their way, especially with the Japanese team being so much of a question mark right now.
Yeah, it's so interesting that it feels like they're the front runners this season, even though obviously they didn't win last year.
I know,
like
or medal.
There's so many teams that did well last year that are either suffering from injury or whatever. Obviously, the Japanese team and Emily Chen, Spencer Akira Howe are out of the Grand Prix now as well. So it's really interesting to see a team that didn't win last year but be so kind of at the forefront of what's happening.
Yeah, and when she said that, she said it in an interview before Autumn Classic, and I read it and I thought, that is bold. That is a bold thing to say, and something I would have never done. An avenue I would never have taken in an interview, just from my own personal like preference. But I think when we know Deanna, even the little bit that the public knows her, it makes sense, and it's kind of their way to like stake their claim and what their goal is and what their intention is for the season. And they are proving that it is so possible, and maybe not even possible, but seemingly they might not even be the hunters anymore. They might be the hunted, which I don't think any of us expected at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing how they stack up against the Italians, Conti Machi in particular. They have not been head to head, but it's true, their technical content. And that's one thing I was curious. So I interviewed Andre Hotarek at Skate America, and that will be coming out eventually. But one of the things that he said was that he thought that the side-by-side jumps were going to be the deciding factor for pairs this year and going into the future, and that if teams like were not thinking about how to increase those jumps, they were probably going to get left behind. Do you agree with that being such an important piece, Kirsten?
I do, yeah. And I wonder if Deanna and Max will want to eventually do the triple toe double axel, or if they will elect to go for just getting the GOE. That single axel in the middle does allow you to have a little bit of a reset. And we obviously have this new rule in place by the ISU that you won't only earn a percentage when you do these series. That for me is, I don't like the rule. Well, and I'll tell you why. I don't even mind when teams want to do like axel in a circle. I'm okay with it. Live your best life. Do what you need to do. It's like totally fine for me. But when a double axel triple toe combination is worth the same as a triple toe step double axel, I just think it's wrong. Just doesn't make any sense in my brain, because the double axel triple toe obviously is so much more difficult. And then we have these teams doing triple toe combination, or trying it, and what used to be like such a novelty and a cool thing, now we're kind of thinking, well, is that a strategic choice? I don't know. Maybe they've looked. I'm not on their coaching team. Obviously, I'm speaking of Golubeva and Giotopoulos more, the Australians. I'm not remotely close to that. I don't know them. I'm not on their coaching team. I don't know if they've looked at that. I assume they have. But the rule for me is, it's just not my favorite personally. But I think you're right, Anna. They'll need to, as a whole, just have no weaknesses. And we see that with Deanna and Max. They are no longer electing to do the throw triplets. We saw them trying it up until Canadians last season. Now they're just doing the loop and the sow, which are not the most point earning throw content. We saw the same thing with Alyona Savchenko 5 years ago at the Pyeongchang Olympics. There's strategy and everything, but I think what will win it for these teams is the lack of weaknesses. If they can rack up positive GOE on every single thing they are doing, as well as making that second mark well-rounded. I think Deanna and Max have worked a ton on their second mark. I don't know if it's as visible when you watch on a screen, but live in person, they're faster and more intentional with their movements and their story. And I think just that little change, which actually isn't a little change, it's a huge change and takes a lot of work, will also play a role in kind of the overall, I don't know, impact maybe of what they're doing. And I think the Italians have the capability of doing the same thing. They do all of their content and rack up positive GOE. It could be a really exciting competition. I wasn't able to watch them at Lombardia. I know they had some weird stuff happen, a fall on a lift. So I think I don't have the ability now to compare apples to apples. So I won't speak to that, but I do think they have the potential to show no weakness and just have positive GOE throughout.
Yeah, it's for Deanna and Max, I agree. I was so impressed seeing them at Autumn Classic, that how fast they had gotten and just how strong they look and confident in everything. And I felt like maybe it was the difference of seeing it on TV. I felt like I could see the details in their story of the free skate better, that there were little things like there's one lift where Deanna had like a sort of claw hand gesture in the middle of the lift. And, you know, there I could see some of those things that they'd been working on. I still think that Max's ripped shirt needs to be about twice as deep for it to show the story. It's not
or like
obvious enough. Yeah.
Ted was like, tell me where it happens. Where does it happen? And we don't want to do that, right? Like if that's, I totally get the novelty of it, but yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, carry on.
And I'm not normally like, you know, make it cheesier, make it more dramatic, but like if you're gonna go for like a costume thing, you need to be able to actually see it, and it was a little too subtle. But.
Totally. I'm sorry, I realized I just talked for like 5 minutes uninterrupted on this. Obviously, pair skating makes me so excited. But
it's great.
Yeah, and I thought the pair event as a whole was really good, particularly in the short program. I thought all teams showed up with a little bit of a I don't know if younger is the correct term, but like even Matteo Goritze, who is by no means anything but a veteran in pair skating, has a inexperienced partner skating with him, obviously. So I think that we saw a lot of storylines where these teams were kind of on personal journeys, coming out just trying to do a good job and take a step forward for themselves. And I thought for the most part, everybody did that. There were some exciting things. I thought Lucrezia Beccari has improved so much in the off season, and it obviously she has some big shoes to fill. Nicole Della Monica and Matteo were fixtures in the Italian pair world and just the pair world in general for so many years. And I'm impressed with how she has stepped into that, and also has been able to have their have a different look than he had with his previous partner, because that can be something that's so difficult in my experience and lived experience. Even it's really hard to change the look that you've had to be different and innovative. And I think they're a really exciting team to watch. Still don't have a second Grand Prix assignment. I'm wondering.
They do
now.
They got one today.
They got NHK today. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'm wondering if they will get NHK. I just saw that Spencer withdrew. I spoke to Matteo at length about it in the stands after the pair event was finished, and he was really disappointed at just the lack of opportunity to try to make final. It's different if you go and you skate like garbage and you don't get to go, but if you don't even get to try, it sucks, you know. And so that's awesome. I hadn't seen that. I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, and Chelsea and Balhaja got the other spot for NHK.
Oh, amazing. So now both teams, that will be so exciting. Both teams will get a chance to, and both teams have third at their first assignment. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be really exciting. I love when we have
it's going to be stacked
exciting
for pairs.
It's going to be great.
I can't wait. I love pair skating.
I did want to say about Lucrezia and Matteo, I was impressed when I talked to them at Europeans last year that, you know, obviously he's so experienced. He's like of the same generation as some of their coaching staff now. It could be easy for him to be like such the dominant force in the partnership. And I think in some ways he is, but I was really impressed by how ambitious and driven Lucrezia is. Like, she was the one saying, well, I want to do quads. I want to do, like, she seemed like very, very strong personality. And so I think, especially with a team that's got such a big age and experience gap, I was glad to see that, like, she was coming in with that much drive and fire as well.
So cool. And yeah, you're right. Matteo is there standing with Luca Demate, or Luca is standing with them. And Luca is younger than Matteo. So he is overwhelmingly the most experienced and mature person on mature as in mature athlete. Luca is very mature, I'm sure, different things. But, I actually got to talk to Andre and Luca on Saturday night and asked a lot about their pair school at Bergamo, because it seems like there are so many teams training there and so many different coaches. And it is, Italy is killing it. You're so right. Italy is doing incredible. And it seems like they're doing a really good job in that rink of keeping a positive environment, especially with all of the moving pieces. And Andre told me that for the most part, all teams work with all of them. They just have one kind of established head coach that will travel with them. And he was talking a little bit, I hope I can say this. He was talking a little bit, I'm going to do it anyway. So about the situation with Matteo, and Andre does teach Matteo and Lucrezia at times, but with that dynamic of Matteo and Andre used to be such like neck and neck competitors, it seemed like the appropriate choice to have Luca be that head coach. And it appears as though they've really thought through what is advantageous for each team and how to have the school as a whole be really productive, and just the environment that athletes need to thrive. And so I'm really impressed with them. They're considerably young guys, and obviously working with more experienced coaches in terms of actually coaching athletes, but it appears as though the school itself is doing really well, which is awesome.
Yeah, I've been really fascinated by them as part of the reason I wanted to talk to Andre, and I interviewed Franco Bianconi last year, and just I think what they're building there is really impressive, and it's like they're almost, trying to do what IAM has done with dance with their pairs. I mean, they have so many teams from different countries at this point, but it's really interesting how they're structuring it with the different coaches and different like team, but also you have your person you go to. Yeah. It's an interesting balance.
Yeah, almost like their managing person, which, I mean, when these athletes get to this age and this level of experience, so much of it is management, especially when you're dealing with, Matteo Gorise, who has been around and done so many things. It's the management of the team that becomes so important, in my opinion. And they're trying to do kind of like tryout camps where if you want to try pairs, you go there, and they did it twice, and have formed a couple teams from doing it, and talked about how it would be just so advantageous for us to have something like that. But in Europe, it's so easy to get, like, it's easier to travel in Europe. I mean, a few of you can speak to this. And for us, like, for me to get to, I drove my car from Ontario to British Columbia when I moved here, and it took me 4 days of driving 15 hours, like, it's within Canada. In fact, the first day I didn't leave Ontario, which is a province that we have in Canada, so it's more difficult for us to do something like that over here. But if you can do it, and you can travel from, I don't know, Germany, Switzerland to try pair skating, then yeah, great, do that. So cool.
We have a team from South Africa now, and all of these things. I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it does. I did it. The first day I drove, Daniel, I drove 15 hours. I was still in Ontario.
I'm pretty sure I could drive to Lois in that time.
Oh, it would take you less time than that, I'm sure.
Annika and Robert also said that one of the reasons that they moved to Bergamo was that they wanted a school, like, not only where they would be pushed by having a lot of other teams around, but where there would be people to make the plan for them, because they're like, we have enough to do executing the plan. We don't want to be the people making the plan. And totally. That's what they have Andre for. And so it was interesting to see that. I also wanted to say on pairs, the other team that I definitely wanted to give a shout out to was the the Dutch team, I really like their free skate, and I wish they didn't have a voiceover in the beginning of it, but I love that they're skating to Fleetwood Mac. It's such a fun and different choice. And I also really liked Kellyanne and Luca's new short program. I thought it was a really nice look for them. And I was glad to see them doing quite well here.
Awesome. Do you mean free? They're short. They did last year.
Oh, they're free. That's what I mean. Sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
they're free. I like they're free.
Actually, I got to I was in the rink when they were choreographing that free. David Wilson was there working with them. And I was just in Montreal visiting some of my friends on my way to Europe, and went in to work a little bit for Yvan Desjardins and Stephanie Valois. And so I got to see that process. And personally, I never worked with David Wilson. Always wanted to, of course, but opportunity kind of never came up. And he asked me, do you want to help me with the beginning? And I just was so honored and flattered. And I didn't even do enough to have my name on it. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was more, I played around with Luca and we tried different things and then kind of taught them to Kellyanne, who is, of course, considerably younger than me, almost by half. And just less, I think, has done less of that playing around. And I just was so honored and flattered. And in that moment, felt like this could be a really powerful vehicle for them, especially because it's so different in that it has her in this like strong leading role that I don't think she's portrayed before. And though it's not, in my opinion, totally where it could be right now, I think it has the ability to be developed and to be something a little bit different for them, which is great. I love when teams try to expand their horizons and work outside of their comfort zones. And this is kind of, we're in the couple years to do that. Mike and I tried to do that in the first year of the new quad, sometimes the second. That's where you might have seen us do Pink Floyd. It didn't work. We tried it, like it's different. We thought, well, if we're going to try, now's the time to try. Not a good choice for us, but it was the time to do that. And I think in this case, Kellyanne and Luca have a great choice and a great vehicle in this. And someone else I really liked was Brooke and Ben's short. I've never seen Brooke look like that. And I was bummed that they scored so low in components, obviously judging such a just incredibly hard job that I would not want. And they obviously were looking for something different than what I personally saw, but we've seen her be so reserved for so long, and it comes from a place of determination and focus and drive. Like, it's not from anything negative, but I was so happy to see her have like a little bit of like almost a flirty vibe and like lit up face that's like lighting up the building, and I just loved it so much. So I hope they stick with it, and I hope that they get a little bit more rewarded each time for that.
Agreed.
Also David Wilson and Sandra Besson.
Yeah. Have there been any other comments? Sarah, have you seen
Yeah,
anything?
there's one about the CATS
that
program
was-
for the Curry Louisa, and I'm wearing cat ears, so I thought I'd bring it up. There's 2 Italian teams doing cat themed programs.
Yeah, true.
I know it's quite a polarizing thing to be doing cats, but I really think it works for them. You cannot.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just trying to like, I remember what it's like to do something and have people not like it and talk about it. It's not that I don't like it. I think I need to see it again, maybe. And I think there's a way to, as the season goes on, to incorporate elements of it that could be a little bit more intricate and like including things that they can be really good at with that cat's theme. Do you know what I mean? Like less kind of on the nose and more a little bit halfway. I felt like in their short, within the first 4 elements, they were like all business. We have that like little lift before the throw loop, but for the most part, they just like are doing a laundry list of checking their elements off because she's so new and it's so hard and they're doing an amazing job. And I think maybe the long is a little bit, or the freeze a little bit like that as well. But Barbara Fuser-Poli did it. Obviously an amazing ice dance coach and ice dancer. And so I think there's potential for that. I just want to see it take a little bit more of that direction, if that makes sense.
they said last year the very first thing they tried to choreograph was a short program to Zombie by the Cranberries, and it was way too hard for them, and they switched it to something else. But I am
Interesting.
still, I'm still hoping that they'll come back to that idea sometime, because I think that would be a really fun music to have a pair program to. So I think I've been slightly disappointed by all of the choices since then, because I got excited about that
Totally.
idea, and then it was like, oh, but that's not what it is.
And I think when you don't have pair experience at any level, and like Anna, you can speak to this, like when you have a pair program and it's relatively simple and you're just kind of getting elements done, it is just astronomically easier than when there's so many intricacies. And I think you could assume that as a viewer, but like I just want to like drive the point home at how much harder that is. And so never want to judge the rate at which skaters do that. Similar to the Hungarian team, like it very well might not be possible for either of these teams. And maybe I shouldn't even put them in the same category, because I do think the level at which they have in their programs is vastly different. But I never want to push how quickly I expect teams to get there, because it just is so hard. And I mean, the Cats theme, we talk about it. It's something we brought up when Ellie asked if we have any more comments, you know, and I think that's one of the things that athletes are always looking for when they're choreographing programs, is wanting people to talk about it. So
Like last
my
week,
thoughts.
the Lion King program in the tiger costume.
In the tiger costume. Oh, my
Yes.
That
God.
was,
Tiger King.
Yeah.
we
Tiger
did talk
King.
about it. The zombie cats.
Which is what the goal was for everyone to talk about.
Zombie Cat's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
culturally, sorry, we're gonna move on. I know. Also,
No,
also
it's fine.
culturally, I think things that we like in more of like the Western culture versus, I don't know, Eastern or European, or what is European considered Eastern?
No,
Kind of right in the
I
middle.
think you could just say North American and European, like
That's
culture,
great, yeah.
there's different tastes.
Yeah, just
sometimes.
very different tastes, and I think we see that in judging panels too. I mean, we just spoke about it with Brooke and Ben. I loved it so much. They weren't necessarily as rewarded for it as I felt like they might be. So can't please everyone.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also a generational thing. Like
Totally.
we are like, oh, lyrical classic music again, but then other generations
Yes.
enjoy it. So
Totally, you're right.
yeah, should we move on to men? Talk about men.
Yes.
The men were manning, I've heard.
The men are always menning.
Whose job is this?
I'm doing it, aren't I? I completely forgot that I was doing it. Okay, in gold we completely left my head. In gold we have Sergio Yamamoto. In silver we have Cam Miura, and in bronze we have Matteo Rizzo.
Last week everybody predicted Cow to win, I think.
Probably, yeah. I
Yeah,
think we probably
sounds
thought
right.
it was Cow versus John, and that definitely did not happen.
No.
I slept through men, and then woke
fair.
up and saw John 9th, and I was like,
Oops.
do I need to watch do I need to watch what happened? Yeah, I don't think I would have predicted Sota first, but you know, happy that he got to have his moment and win.
Oh, good for everyone who picked him on fantasy skating.
Yeah,
I put him on group 2, so that went well. I clearly didn't expect him to be on the podium. But yeah, also huge kudos to Matteo Rizzo for coming back in the free skate. Like I didn't think it was going to be a skate that would get him to the podium, but then of course the men are men, so it did.
And Matteo, speaking on that, was training at the club I teach at for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday leading into Skate Canada. And I didn't see him have that success with quads for any of the days that he was there. So I was really impressed with that. I like him so much as a human and as a performer. So I feel like I'm always rooting for him. But kind of what he showed in the short in terms of technical content was more what I had seen from him early in the week. So it definitely speaks to his ability to skate under pressure or bring it out when it counts or whatever you want to call it. I've heard a lot of mixed things about his short. I really like it. I think it's cool that he's using a female vocal.
Yeah.
Something we see a lot. I think that is very interesting and effective. Yeah, I like him.
I was
I agree.
skeptical about both program choices before I saw them, and then I think I liked them, and I think they're going to be good vehicles for him this year. And he's someone that I've always kind of wanted to like, but felt like I never quite connected to. And I think the more he is getting to be, I don't know, I feel like he's making more of his own choices about what he wants to skate to and what he's excited about. And I don't know, I'm finding that I like him more each season.
So, yes, please continue talking.
Sorry, I was waiting because I thought Lois was going to say something when Anna started. So.
I think I entirely lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's fine. I will shout out Mikhail Shadorov because I've been a fan of him for a couple of seasons now, and while he's not necessarily like the fastest skater yet or gets the highest PCS scores, he does have great technique on his jumps, and he's so committed to the programs he chooses and the themes, and I just find him a joy to watch.
He's so technically efficient too. Like he does so many things on practice where you're just like, whoa, that was so good. So yeah, an exciting one to watch for the future for sure.
I think he's still in like the nailing the technical aspect of his programs. I can't remember if he did a challenger before, if he kept this program. So I remember seeing it before. And I thought that it was, for me, or at least the last competition, it was very like element to element to element. I felt like he hadn't found his rhythm with it yet, I guess.
I think we saw him in practice, and I think he withdrew before the competition started because he injured himself.
I saw him before Continents last year, and I felt like he had more emotional connection to the music when I saw him then. So it may just be something that, like, as the season goes on, he'll get more comfortable and get into that, and it's just not where he was focused at this point.
I think that's like, there can be criticism, and I say it myself, when people do keep their skates, like repeat their skates for whatever reason. But I don't mind it when you can see such an improvement between seasons, when you see that they are performing more. Like Conrad Orzel's short program he kept, ironically, to the same music. You can see he's sort of settled into it a bit more, and he's worked on his performance a lot compared to seasons previous.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I think it can make a viewer, if the opposite is done, or if there isn't any sort of like push forward. I'm just like always laughing at your cat, Lois, and also that you're wearing cat ears. It's just like such a theme for your life right now. And
It's hilarious. She came in and saw me wearing them, and she just like stared at me like, "Are you making fun of me?" Like, no, I'm not.
I'm also unsure whether we pointed out at the beginning that this is a Halloween costume and not a choice she just made.
Yeah,
we talked about it internally before the live stream started, but not.
So everyone was like, "Should we wear costumes?" And I was like, "I might be able to find some cat ears." And I was like, "I'll wear my cat ears." And I was like, "Well, no one else is going to be costume. I'll wear them anyway."
Yeah, I did assume that, but it's probably good that you specify. Anyway, I think sometimes if we see athletes keep a program and we don't see that like emotional growth or the skating skill growth, it can lead us to wonder, like, why did you keep this? Like, what was the driving force behind this? And sometimes, a lot of times, I think the reason is that the program can feel unfinished, and if it doesn't then get finished, it can be like, what, like question mark kind of deal.
To throw it back slightly, Conti Machi kept their free skate from last season, and they were so successful with that. Obviously, like the medals and achievements that they got last season, I'm still not 100% sure why they decided to keep it when they did achieve so much. Maybe it is sort of a personal goal that they want to push forward that program, and hopefully we do see that when they next compete.
I didn't know that. That
Mm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that can be like I that's interesting for me, especially because they did it so well that it can be hard
Yeah.
then for viewers to not be like, wah, wah, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
And
oh,
also,
we've seen this. We'd like to see
Yeah.
something
and
new.
also if they get back on the podium, this is probably totally aesthetic and like it's not a thing, but like I guess they could get new costumes, but I don't know. It's like it's for me, if it's a free when you've been so successful, it's a bizarre choice. Obviously there's a reason, but I agree with you, Sarah. That's
I
interesting.
think she did get a new dress, and I don't think I
Great.
liked it as much as last year's.
Oh shoot.
So that's a personal preference.
I also feel like it's such a shame because you only get to do so many skates during your career. So why would you not want to do something new, especially if you had success?
And they're
I
a team that
agree.
has such artistic ability that
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
we'll have to ask them at some point why.
yeah,
I think
let's
they
ask.
also said about their short program. I think they said they are aiming to do this one at the Olympics if they get to the Olympics. I think they said the short program they've done this year. that
I was
they're
just about to make this comment,
looking for
by the
that.
way, about it being expensive to get new choreography. That could, of course, be a point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I did
you're
wonder
right.
if that's why the German pairs had the same programs as last
think
year, or at
so.
least the same free skate as last year.
I think
Yeah.
a couple of them did mention that.
And
Yeah.
we have heard a lot of the German skaters have been very vocal about the funding situation in their country. I can only speak to the funding situation in my country and that of which I experienced, but I would be surprised if when you were a world bronze medalist, if there weren't funds for you to get a new vehicle. But again, I do not know the reality of what that looks like in the Italian Federation.
I do
And also
remember.
World Team Trophy as well, because World Team Trophy
Yeah.
has quite the money attached to it.
A lot of money there, that's right.
I remember.
And I mean, when you get a medal at Worlds, sorry, Sarah, there's president.
That's okay. That's okay.
But again, no judgment. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
It's just a peculiar choice, and it's the first I've learned of it. So, anyway.
Yeah. I remember Robert Kunkel mentioned in an interview, I think at the end of last season, that the money that they won for like the European medal that they got, they never saw back. So I thought that was like very interesting to learn, given the state of the German Federation and the no funding that
He
people are receiving.
said that for their Skate America medal that the Federation was going to take 10%. So that they said with taxes and 10%, it's not, as much as it looks like, but it's still something. So at least they're getting something from that one. But
and I did learn, and I won't share specifics, but I did learn in speaking to some people in their circle what they have to use for their training, and it is just so minimal that I really feel for them, because they obviously want to do their best job, and you don't want funds to be the reason that kind of stands in your way of being the best you can be, because so many things that are required to move forward cost money, almost all of them. So that's really hard.
And I'm really proud of everybody who is brave enough to speak out against the Federation, because that requires a lot of strength to talk about these kind of things. And I think we are seeing it more and more happening. People are speaking out. I think that we had an interview with who was the British skater we had an interview with?
PJ
Hallam.
Yeah. You also talked about that.
Yeah. You're right. That is really, it can be really tough. And so yeah, it's just hard. And I'm glad, I think it was Daniel that pointed that out, because again, it sounds like I'm being judgmental. I totally am not, but you're so right. There are so many, and I think that can fall under even a broader umbrella, where we sometimes can question an athlete's choice, but we just never know what is happening in their life and what the story around that choice is. And I really struggled with that when I was competing, because I think sometimes choices that were questionable, I had a good reason for, and sometimes they were really necessary for my life and physical and mental well-being. But if the general public doesn't understand, there can be a lot of judgment placed on that, and that can be really hard for an athlete. So I'm trying to think of what I said and if I retract it, but No judgment.
We kind of got distracted away from the men conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I wanted to ask you about Wesley and Liam, because they both train at the rink where you're coaching, right, Kirsten?
Yeah, they do. Both. I see Wesley a little bit more than I see Liam, and even had the pleasure of working with him on skating skills very minimally once a week in the summer. He has such an amazing coaching team in his head coaches, and I'm in no way taking credit for anything Wesley, but just such a nice, I say kid, I think he's probably an adult now, but just such a nice person, human, really hard worker. Of course, started with the coaches that he is with currently, which is a little bit of an anomaly. And I was a little bit disappointed for him, just for the reason being he was training much cleaner than what he showed at Skate Canada. But I think that can come with the pressures of competing at a Grand Prix in your home city, or competing really at a Grand Prix in general. He was just awarded NHK today. They're really excited with that. I'm really excited with that for him. I love his short program in particularly, and when he hits it well, it is so effective. And he will continue to work on, that second side, the component side, and also how he incorporates his face into it. For me, his skating skills are quite lovely, but sometimes I want to see his face tell a little bit more of that story. And I think that comes so much with maturity and comfortability on the competition stage. But I'm a big Wesley fan, and I'm really happy for him. And Liam too. Liam did his free in particular was a real skate he really can be proud of. Obviously would have wanted to hit that quad sow, but in terms of well-roundedness for him, hitting those axles, I think he can be really proud of that. And such a dedicated skater. He does drive home to the United States every day from Canada, still lives at home. And we just talked about the vastness of Canada, and it sounds really crazy. He does live really close to the border. So, it's not like he's making this huge trek every day, but has been coached by his mom, Louise, formerly, and kind of made this decision several years ago to come here and train in a little bit more of a competitive school. And obviously is in a sea of men with similar abilities to him in the United States. So obviously always fighting to break through that kind of group that he's in. But also a great skater. Both skaters had both programs choreographed by Joey Russell, who works here with the skaters at this club very regularly. And great kids and great experience, I think, for both of them.
Yeah, I really like Liam's boxer free skate. I thought he did such a nice job of continuing the storytelling even when the jumps aren't happening. And this was a much better. I saw him at Cranberry Open right at the beginning of the season when he had a kind of a disaster of a skate, but even then he kept really pushing through it, and I was impressed with him then. And I think when I saw him at Skate America last year, he did not stand out to me as that kind of a skater. And so I was thinking, okay, I think he's worked on it. I think these programs are good vehicles for him. And I was excited to see him do better.
Yeah, it was a little bit of especially in the short, a cluster of Canadian men. And gosh, the Canadian National Championships in men is shaking up to be, we keep saying the men are menning, and I think the men will continue to men. It's in their nature. But
anyone can throw out 2 clean programs, they're going to be national champion, and that will be exciting to see.
I was sad with the absence of Roman Sadovsky here. Obviously happy for Alexa Rakic. He also from a city just outside of Vancouver, pretty much a suburb of Vancouver, honestly. So his first Grand Prix also in a home crowd situation, and Alexa can do really great things. I think his maybe nerves got the better of him in his free program, but was looking really solid in practice, and will kind of take this, I think, experience to move forward. But I was definitely missing Roman here.
I think there are some more slides. Sorry, if you want to add to that.
Sorry, I just was going to say that I feel like for the men that we hadn't talked about yet, that we definitely should talk about June. And I also just wanted to give a shout out to Kazuki Tomono, who I thought skated pretty well overall here. Not like podium well, but I thought that his free skate was a little bit, I thought it was underscored from the PCS. I was sorry to see that he didn't, do a little bit better here because he really stood out to me in that regard. Even though I think with Cow, his speed is so impressive, and that's less easy to see on TV. But I miss Cow's Beauty and the Beast. That Attack on Titan does not give me the same emotional connections, which is just personal taste. But that was a big part of me like starting to root for him last year, was how much I enjoyed that one program. And so I was like, okay, it's probably good he's got a new program. He's not just reusing it, but I was a little sad.
Yeah, I agree. But in person, he is so fast. It's actually almost scary. Like, I feel concerned at the speed with which he is entering his jumps. I think if I remember correctly, I prefer his short program to his free this season, but just in general, a really likable skater and very technically proficient. I was sad in the short that there kept just being like that kind of one error. Even Sota, if I remember correctly, his quad sow was under or down even maybe. Obviously him leading the short because he had the least magnitude of error, but so many likable skaters in this event, and poor June.
Yeah.
That was really sad to watch for me.
Yeah.
I really like June.
It's sad because you know what he's capable of, and just for it to end up like that, it's very, very depressing.
Yeah.
It just looked like he had it knocked out of him from that first fall.
Yes. Yeah. And he was, in practice, he was struggling a lot. And struggling not even in the way of making errors, like struggling a little bit with circling. Like feeling it was looking, and I don't want to speculate, but what it looked like from a viewer's perspective is a little bit of like a lack of confidence going into, because when he did his elements, he did them the June we know, which was obviously superb, but was not having the same attack that I've seen him have in the past. And I know you mentioned, Anna, that I work and live in Vancouver, and so a lot of the young skaters from my club were in the stands, and just so exciting for them and inspiring for young kids to be able to see what could be possible for them in the future. And so many of them such June fans and just so devastated for June. And I know that he knows that. I think he knows how much support he has around the world, but obviously it's devastating that the final is not going to be, he won't be at the final this season. And I know that seems like such a huge deal, but I hope he takes this as just like one disappointment in just the grand scheme of things, which is just not, it's not the end of the world, just one big disappointment. And I know we'll see him again.
It was nice to see, there was an interview with him on Golden Skate from yesterday, and he seemed like he was in really good spirits about it and just, calm and ready to move on. And so that was nice to see. I think after you see somebody have such a hard skate like that, it's like your heart just goes out, and it seemed like, I'm sure it's not easy, but he seemed like he was doing okay.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I saw that as well. And I think seems like he has so many fans that are so invested and just really invested in his well-being, even maybe more so than his skating. And so I did see that interview as well, and was glad for also his fans to be able to have some peace of mind that he's okay and, he'll be back again.
Yeah.
Especially
his short,
because
though, is amazing. How good is his short?
somebody mentioned that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see these programs, like when, hopefully we'll get to see like the really great performances of them, like the way we got to see him thrive at the end of last year, because he's a really special skater. And that thing about circling is interesting, because I noticed a bunch of skaters at Skate America that were having some trouble with the size of the rink, but I wouldn't think that June, who trained in Canada for so long, would be somebody who would struggle with the smaller rink. But I did
Especially
know,
coming from cricket. Cricket is really
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But a couple people at Skate America mentioned that they, coming from Europe, were like,
totally.
every time they would go to set up for a jump, it would be like, oh wait, the board is right there, and tried to circle again. And there were a couple of people who were having that issue and had tried to train for it ahead of time, but not felt like it was useful.
And if you don't have the opportunity to practice that, it can be really difficult. I've been so fortunate where when I trained in Montreal, the rink was a little bit smaller. And when I trained in Oakville, Canada, we trained often in a Olympic size rink, but then had 3 options of smaller size. So if ever we were leading into a competition with a smaller size rink, we could jump over there and practice. I know sometimes we see in Scarborough video clips and they have pylons on the ice. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that, but trying to kind of adapt to ice size can be so difficult with patterns and setting up patterns and figuring out how to place them. And with only one practice on Thursday at this event, they didn't have a whole lot of time. One practice and then just the morning of each day. And I think ideally every athlete would have liked to have a chance to set up every pattern on their music, and it just might not have been possible here or at Skate America. So that can be definitely an unforeseen challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Looking at the time, I know you have like 4 minutes left before you have to leave. Should we do
I always think it's a lot of time, but then I talk for so long that it's not.
It's amazing. It's great. It's just,
we always overshoot how long we think that these are going to go. So.
Oh yeah.
and it's getting longer and longer, I feel like. I think we should just talk about the Grand Prix de France preview real quick. Like maybe mention one person to watch out in each category or something.
Or just like 2. Adam versus Ilya, probably for the gold, I would imagine. Both of them have had great seasons.
Everybody,
so
please
far.
open. Please
Yeah,
open.
I don't know who's gonna be there, so I'm like,
Just like run to Wikipedia quickly.
yeah, I know who will be. I know that Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud will be there exclusively because I know them personally, and they trained with my old coach, who will also be there. Of course, they are hoping to earn a spot to the Grand Prix final. Would be their first as a team, and just for either of them in general. So that could be really exciting. Looking at who they're up against, the Italian team.
Yeah.
We'll be so excited to watch this team this week and see their free program round 2 with the new costume. But I really do love this team.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see them, as well as Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea. I haven't seen them yet this season. I thought last season they were exhibiting a lot of kind of newness. You could see the newness of them. They had moments of like brilliance, and then their throws, for example, were a little bit puzzling, I think, to a lot of viewers, but sounds like they're doing really well this year. I think they won Finlandia, if I remember.
Yeah, they had a
correctly.
good challenger.
So this looks like it will be actually a really exciting pair event. Kovalev sometimes are dark horses, especially in the short. That'll be fun.
Yeah, they'll be fun. I was gonna say, I think it's a very stacked men's event because you've got Ilya, Yuma, Adam, and then you've got Boyang, Koshiro Shimada, Lucas Bridgsky, Nikolai Memela, Camden, Steven Gogolev. So it's like there's a that's a lot of inconsistent skaters, but it's also a lot of skaters who are strong potentially. So I'm actually really excited to see how that all shakes out.
That will be
I think the women's could be interesting.
It could be very interesting.
The women's?
Yeah, because you've got Isabeau, who's going to be obviously trying to get a spot in the final. You got Hyen, you got Mona again having another spot, and she hopefully trying to get a better result than she did last time. Wagaba, the return, love Wagaba.
Me too.
And Rion as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting event.
Kimi Rippon too. No, it's
yes. Dance, I feel like is probably Rino Fabry versus Fania Boudreaux Sorensen, but obviously they had a slightly bad challenger. But obviously they'll get a better score than they got at the challenger.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're hoping to do a better rhythm dance. And I do wonder how the free dance would have shaken up if they didn't have sort of that rhythm dance preceding it. I'm excited to see them. I'm happy that Olivia and Tim got a second assignment. Obviously, the scores that they were getting won't bring them close to the Italians or the Canadians, and probably the French, who they were up against at Skate America. But I like them, and I like their material, and I'm interested to see where that team will go. Maybe not now, but in the future.
I think if it wasn't some home cooking if it wasn't maybe some home cooking for the French, I think it might be a closer battle between the French and Kara Ponorenko, but I think maybe the French will probably get the bronze.
Yeah, I don't know enough about ice dance, but I love to watch it.
I'm excited to see the young French teams too. I enjoy them both, and it'll be fun to see them for the first time this season at a bigger event.
I was just saying, I know I told you I have to go, but I will say about ice dance, I find with all of these choreo elements, it is so difficult for me to see where one ends and one begins. And I think it makes ice dance more exciting because the whole program really is this piece of kind of choreography that's so beautiful.
I don't want to leave you with these very sweet comments. It's like the outro while you are leaving. Thank you so much.
I really was loving commentary, and it's just my favorite job that I've done since I retire. I think because I feel so passionate about pair skating that I want other people to feel passionate, and I think if maybe we all understand pair skating more, it can help us. So I just love it so much. So
I love that you were explaining what gives the levels on the lifts when you were actually narrating that. That was very helpful. I feel like not a lot of people actually explain why a lift is good or not. And
good. I'm glad. I had asked my Instagram for what they wanted to know, and I got an overwhelming number of lift levels. But obviously things happen so fast, so I was trying my best to do that. But thank you so much for having me. It was just so fun as always.
Thank you so much.
Great to have
nice
you.
to see you. To chat about you
too.
skating.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And please, everyone, stick with us. We are still going to talk a bit more because we know she had to leave. Yeah.
We have fantasy skating.
No, I think there are also some slides still for men.
There's always
there was I added Sebastian, and Sebastian was listed as the local skater in the gala. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, you can head to Skate Canada's Daily Motion, and the streams are not geo-blocked anymore, so it's like the archived whole thing. Sebastian was incredible. I think they said he's an acrobatics person that started ice skating and decided to like combine the two, and so it's kind of scary to watch but also really entertaining.
I did see some people say like there'll be Adam and Ilya calling him up for like, how do you do that? How did you do that? Tell us how you did that.
I think there was a second slide. What happened here?
Okay,
Hector Giotopoulos Moore walked on the ice in the gala with his guards on.
Lois made me
all
this
there.
It's the second time he's done this apparently.
Apparently did it last season as well. So somebody needs to remind the poor kid to take his guards off before he gets on the ice.
This is always my biggest fear going to a competition. I get so stressed that that's going to happen to me that I think I just displace all of my other worries about anything else onto I'm going to step on the ice with my guards on. So that's not happened yet, but I live in fear.
Oh my god.
So do we have any more comments? I didn't want to rush you guys, but we know she had to leave. I always feel bad when they have to overstay because we can't stop talking.
Thank you for being our timekeeper, Ellie. It's very helpful.
Yeah, like literally messaging Cousin going, how long can you stay? When is your hard out?
Also, Sarah and we both have control over the slides, and we kept switching the slides because we don't have time. You can't talk about this right now. So we kept tackling the slides back and forth. So do we want to start fantasy skating?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
It's like 9:15 here and I haven't had dinner.
Yeah. So first of all, our faves of the week. Feeling loopy. Love it. Barbara Stopwatch was watching last week. I still love the name. It's amazing.
And I love Barbara Stopwatch.
See, I say Euler, so this one doesn't make so much sense to me because it's Euler, not Ferris Bueller, probably.
Yeah. I just found it really funny. I had to put
No,
it
it
in.
is.
It is really good. Like, I mean, I always used to say Euler, and then it was like, it's Euler. It's like, okay, I guess it's
No, it works. It's perfect. Anybody informed the people on Twitter that we are starting fantasy? Okay, Sarah's on it.
Sarah's doing that.
So this week, I feel like everybody won. I was just taking screenshots of first places after screenshot of first places.
I will preempt this by saying, I promise you, it's not a fix.
I'm the only one
You'll
who has
know why.
control over the
know,
result.
you'll know why when we get there.
But this one, so men only has like, I can't count right now, but like a couple of first places. So everybody who guessed men right, congratulations. You are the true winners of this week.
Yes, I agree.
Nobody could have predicted this chaos. It's usually the people who have the least knowledge because they just guess.
Yeah, it's like how Ellie's method is.
I don't play this time, but yes, usually.
Usually this is your method.
So now we're starting with women. I'm trying to go through them as slowly as possible.
So people can see their names.
I don't want to. You're welcome. I know fantasy group and skating talk group might be two different people. I don't know. So yeah, we continue. The Nip Slips is back.
Great. Amazing name.
Yeah.
We have our Burger King nightmare in
Hey,
chat.
I made it.
Oh, you made it as well.
Yes, thanks to my belief in Laranaki, I think so.
Yeah, I'm there as well. We know them.
We know that you're there. Oh my GUE, isn't that Sarah?
Yeah, I know
think
Sarah did pretty well.
I won women and I won dance, and we'll not talk about the other two.
You didn't do badly in pairs. You only got one, didn't you?
Yeah, true. I'll take that.
Continues. Just to show you how many of you guys won.
Yes.
It seemed to have
Maybe
been
I need
very
to make the
predictable.
groups harder. I don't know. Maybe my groups were too easy.
This week, apparently. So pairs. Again, it's just me going through the slides now.
There's a lot of people. I mean, pairs always tends to. I mean, we did have 4 groups this time, rather than 3, but pairs always tends to bring out the more winners.
And ice dance. Also, quite a few people won this one. If you see yourself, please be happy and celebrate. It's still an accomplishment to get it right. So,
Oh yeah, sure.
even if you're among many, many, many people. I think this is like, I've never seen this many people on number 1. This is exceptional.
So either the event was very predictable, or just I made the groups too easy.
Oh, see, that's me. That's what I forgot to take out my name. Stevie's me. I forgot to take out the name. Even I won. So that's saying something. Yeah. And overall, who won? Oh, I don't know. 3 people won.
Hi.
The Nip Slips, but also the Nip Slips is back.
Yes. Good job.
Good job. You won. I mean,
Oh,
it's getting
I love delusion spins as a
That's
name.
great. That's a great name. I got
twisting
one
through
answer
life.
wrong in the whole week.
So did Nip Slips and Twizzling
Yes,
through
they
life.
They did great.
I
great.
hope that Grims have future world champs that you keep in the high scores. So by the time
Yes.
we get to NHK and we have Mihail with us.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yes.
Please keep doing well.
That would be good. And now we can do overall scores because it's been 2 competitions. And yeah, so far there hasn't been a lot of different scores because it's only 2 competitions. But by the end, if you compete every single time, you can score pretty high in this category.
Nice job, everyone.
And again, Lois is right there. The white chip disaster is also back. We did
The white chip
do
disaster
quite
is
a bit
great.
we did so much research on this last week.
You're like, what does the white chip disaster mean? It's like, I saw a comment. Here you go. It means this. It's about,
Yeah, and then
it's about this
apparently
specific
something
historic event.
medieval. Something medieval. People don't know this, but I work for a medieval professor at university, so that was very interesting to me. I should have probably known that. But I was
you know
very
now.
excited. I know now. Yeah, learned something. The white chip disaster is back. So happy for them. And I think this is congratulations.
Sorry, I saw my name.
Yeah, Laura is. See, I'm postponing the reveal. No, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna show you who's in first place overall.
I promise it's not a fix. I promise it's not a fix.
The
I
more you
will
say
drop,
it, the
don't
more it
worry.
sounds. The more it sounds
I
like
will-
it is.
next week I won't be there. I promise you. I'm never that good at fantasy. I will drop.
No, I've also heard, like, from the way you talked about, men is going to be difficult.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be chaos. I did think I'd already sorted out the groups, but I don't remember what they are.
It sounds chaotic. I don't know how. I mean, it always is, but.
Yes.
So yeah, that was fantasy. This week's fantasy. And I think the results are going up tomorrow. We never know which time zone the schedule is
Yeah.
on. I think Iceland, but nobody lives in Iceland, so it'll be on by 10.
And also the
PM?
times have just changed as well, so who knows what it's on anymore.
Yeah, we don't know.
But it is going up tomorrow. That's
It's going up tomorrow in the evening, like 10 p.m. And then everybody can see their results. And we will post about it, of course.
Yes.
So yeah, anything else to say? Any comments?
Yeah, you should join us next week because our guest is going to be Angelo Dolfini, who is a coach with Team Champere and coaches Koshiro Shimada, who will be at France, as well as Shoma Uno and Denis Vasilyevs and the others in their team. He is former Italian men's skater and formerly a commentator for Eurosport for Italy. And I'm excited to have him on to talk about all the things, and that we have we love our Canadian pairs women, and we are now going to have our first non-Canadian pairs woman joining us for our stream next week.
Yeah, it's very Canada heavy, but that's fine. I also want to say, please, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Please like our
Yes,
channel.
please.
Please follow us on all social media. We really appreciate your support. We are so happy for all of the comments we got today. It was so much fun to interact with you guys. I also know that our guests really appreciate all of the comments. And it's like easier to bounce off if there are more people than just 6.
And if you have any questions, send them ahead in time, like for the guests, because we
Yes.
have the schedule on the
Yes.
Twitter.
Yes.
So just send them. We'll answer them or ask them to answer them.
Very good point. Yes, I don't want to. It's always so difficult to cut this off because I don't want to go, but I think it's 10 p.m. It's time to go. Bye.
Just bye.
It's 6 a.m. for me.
I'm just. Oh, what time is it?
It's 6 a.m. now. I've been up since
Oh my
3.
god.
Okay, you won.
You definitely win.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
no.
I also want to say hi, Amy, because I've missed it. Like you were on our live stream last year quite a lot, so
Yeah.
it's always nice to recognize names.
Thanks for familiar faces and new faces, and thanks for everyone coming and watching and participating.
Thank you so much.
We will see
And
you
now I
next
think
week.
it's time to go. Okay, now end stream. Bye.
Bye.